EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac. John McMullen. Might not have been that long ago since the last time you heard from us, but we are right back here with you this morning for a full 2-hour edition of Birds 365 following the Eagles' very first preseason game, the first game of the 2025 campaign. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Friday morning, brother?
Doing well. Recovering from being locked in to Lincoln Financial Field last night. So, but we're here.
We're here. We're
daunting.
ready.
I'm looking at this schedule. It's daunting. Too many damn night games. I don't need them in the preseason, but it's funny. We were talking to Patrick Johnson last week, who was started on the Eagles and got waived and got picked up by the Giants, and we were just joking around and said, did you get a chance to watch him at all? Because he's close to obviously everybody. And he's like, yeah, I saw him all the time because we played at 1:00. And they were usually, and he wasn't doing it maliciously. He was just saying, yeah, I had plenty of opportunities. And that is the price of success, man. And the Eagles, it's preseason, it doesn't matter. But, I go back to Denny Green told me winning is a habit, man. They have made it a habit. Doesn't matter if it's practice and Elliott's rankings, or did they win the practice or win a preseason game or win a game that counts. They just tend to win.
That's a good habit to have, man, for an NFL team. There's no doubt.
And it is, it was pretty impressive from Tanner McKee last night.
Yeah, good stuff, Johnny Mac. We'll get into all that. A couple guys really stuck out to me, John. Before we get into the details and the players, and obviously Tanner had such a great game last night. But I was on the air, John, for most of the game. I was doing like a play-by-play kind of thing for the people who were listening with me. That was an exciting football game for a preseason. At least it felt like it was to me. I'm watching Tanner move the ball around. I'm watching Darius Cooper make plays. I'm watching Johnny Wilson go up and Randy Moss some dudes with his big length over the top. I thought it was a fun game. I thought it was an exciting preseason game, and that's beside the point. But I thought that a lot of guys showed a lot of things. A couple guys maybe showed some reason to be concerned, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you kind of got a little bit of everything in last night's game for the Eagles. And, I had one other takeaway, John, that we didn't talk about immediately. As my head hit the pillow last night. I don't know, 1:30 or whatever time it was. And I'm thinking, that's how most teams live with their offensive line, is what our backups looked like last night. And they looked pretty good.
Yeah, they
That's
did.
how most teams live with the offensive line. We have some jolly green giants that are incredible in the starting unit that we didn't obviously get to see last night. Tyler Steen played well when he was out there, but I thought about that.
Yeah, Tyler Steen had the big block.
Awesome block
from Will Shipley. Yeah, so and he was the only starter. Well, Jihad played, if you want to consider him a starter. So those were the only two starters that played on offense. And I was a little bit surprised at Tyler Steen, because I didn't see the value of, putting him out there from a chemistry standpoint with guys he's not going to play with. But he delivered. So, he had the big block, and he didn't play that much. That's another thing. NFL usually has snap counts out in the morning, and they don't. So I'm worried about that. And if they're going to stop doing that, then you got to wait for PFF, unless you want to do it yourself manually. So, but we'll see the snap counts a little bit later. But he obviously didn't play long, but he did a good job. And yeah, I've been talking about it. From my standpoint, I think the Eagles have about 14 NFL players on the 90-man roster from the offensive line, which is astonishing.
Yeah, it really
because a lot of teams don't have 5 in this league and have bad offensive lines. And not to say, look, I mean, Kendall Lamb started at left tackle, Brett Toth at left guard, Kendall at center, who I think is going to be a good player. Steen and Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor's a good player. That's a significant downgrade from what they have on the starting unit, with the exception of Steen. But yeah, you saw Cincinnati. All right, they don't have a great offensive line to begin with from the starters, but you saw how effective they were with Joe and Jamar. And then Jake Browning comes in, and that's it. You talked about being an exciting game. It was an exciting game from an Eagle standpoint for 2.5 quarters. And then, when Tanner left to get into the preseason vibe, and the Eagles are down to really their third-team offensive line, which is still better than all the other third-team off. But you get my point. It starts to get a little bit away from you. But yeah, I mean, Kendall Lamb is a guy who started a lot of games in this league. Matt started a lot of games in this league. Toe's been around. Kendall's got, I've said it pretty consistently. I think ultimately, probably not here, but somewhere he's going to be a starting center in this league. Yeah, it's a good group.
No doubt about it, Johnny Mac. Great group. Let's get into some of the game. That's some of the players that stood out. First one, John, and we'll get to Ringo, we'll get to Dory, we'll get to some of the concerns, but Tanner McKee can play ball, man. That guy knows how to manage a game at the quarterback position, going through. I love the way he managed the offense. I love the pocket awareness of him. I mentioned last night profusely. Just felt like he knows where the pressure's coming, when it's coming, when to roll out, when to throw the ball away, when to look downfield. I thought Tanner McKee really put on a great performance last night. Not only improving his stock, but I think showing the Eagles they made the right decision and moving on from Kenny Pickett, because that kid can play. Great performance from Tanner McKee. What'd you see from him last night?
Yeah, the most impressive part to me is I said it last night on our post-game show is, him elevating guys. I've never seen Johnny Wilson be more impactful. I've never seen Anaya Smith be better. Darius Cooper, I talked about him a lot. But that was his first game that people got to see him. He's been doing that at camp pretty consistently, but, undrafted rookie, and he looks like that. And he compared it, and he's done that in the past, Tanner, compared it to being a point guard in the NBA. That's his mentality. It's his job to distribute. And when I see quarterbacks elevate the guys around them, that's when, they're clicking at a really high level. And I think that's what Tanner did last night. Will Shipley as well. I think that's what he did last night. And, that's impressive, especially and I'm surprised how much he played, especially how well he played. I was surprised. But, sometimes you want guys to get the feeling of going in the locker room, the old school mentality of going in the locker room and coming back out. That used to be the dress rehearsal, so to speak, when people would play starters, have them go in the locker room, cool down, and come back out in the third quarter for a series or two. And they kind of did that with Tanner. He hasn't played a lot of football, so, he needs reps. And the more you get live reps, the better it is, because you can do a lot of things in practice, but until you get those live reps, and you kind of saw that, Vic has talked about that from a defensive standpoint. We're not tackling to the ground. We're not trying to get the quarterback down in practice. And, you saw it early in the game when the tight end from Cincinnati kind of dragged Smile Munden and McWilliams into the end zone. You go, all right, well, these are young guys who aren't used to tackling NFL players. And you kind of see it from both ends. But for Tanner, it was all positive.
No doubt about it. Great performance from Tanner McKee. He really does, though, control the game when he's in there, which is a great thing to see. John, plenty of other players on that offense. You just named a couple of them who really stood out. But the one who stood out the most to me was easily Darius Cooper. I'm watching that kid, and I'm like, before the game, John, I said the player I'm watching tonight is the guy that makes Howie Roseman's job difficult. That's what I want. That's the player I want to identify. And that was Darius Cooper last night in spades, Guy continued to get separation, continued to get open, continued to convert for them on third down, had a couple big plays down the field, and obviously had that beautiful touchdown over that defender where Tanner McKee put the ball right on the money. But a great catch there by Darius Cooper. I think that kid has potential, John. I know it's early. I know it's one game. I know you can't make too much of it, but undrafted guy at Tarleton State. By the way, the great press conference after the game, too. I saw that floating around on social media when we got off the air, where kind of gave his name, gave where he's from, and just had such an upbeat mentality. I loved it. But I think that kid deserves to be on an NFL roster somewhere, just from what I saw last night. It's a small sample size, but sometimes people can play, and you can identify, and you can see it quick. I think that guy can play.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was the second leading receiver. I told this story. I wrote about him before the game, so people were reading Eagles on SI. He's been making plays consistently in practice, so that's just an extension. And then you saw it on the field last night with the lights and live action. So he's been doing that pretty consistently in practice. And that's a positive. It's not just like, oh, he hasn't been, one of that.
Yeah, right. Wasn't a flash in the pan. You've been talking about him on the show consistently. Yep.
Yeah. So he's been doing that pretty consistently. And I'm like, so obviously, that's how I led it at Tarleton State is in Tuscaloosa, to a nod to your school, Zander, obviously in the college football realm. So, level of competition is real. But it is Division I. He was the second leading receiver in Division I football. He was an All-American. He didn't get invited to the combine. Never mind get drafted. And I'm saying to myself, and I said it last night on the show, right. Scouts and personnel people have told me for years, don't scout the helmet. Don't get enamored with Alabama. Right. Sometimes you should with Devontae or somebody like that. But there are other guys who
there's a place for it, but you can't make that your exclusive process.
And they say never scout the helmet, never scout the helmet. And I think they scouted the helmet, and they said, well, he did it at Tarleton. Which, again, you have to factor that in. But anybody who sees this kid for one practice is like, all right, he's got plenty of room to grow, and the technique and all that stuff. He probably didn't have the greatest coaching in the world. I'm not criticizing. I don't know a lot about Tarleton State, but I assume, they don't have the top coaches in college football. So he probably needs a lot of refining, but just from the natural athletic skills, the fact that he can't get a combine invite, the NFL should be, looking at their process, and if this kid continues, and that's one of the things, he already made it more difficult for Howie Roseman, because I said, other teams don't get to see Eagles practice. Cleveland will next week, right. And you might see some Cleveland waiver pickups because of what they saw in practice next week down the road,
right,
from the Eagles. But all other teams get are these games. And that's what happened. I bring it up all the time with Eli Ricks a couple of years ago. Eli was not, during the summer, you said, he's probably not going to make the team. You get him on the practice squad.
He was undrafted, Eli Ricks, right?
Yeah, he was undrafted. And then he made a pick six against a fourth string quarterback. And by the way, he should have had a pick Ricks last night. And Howie didn't feel comfortable putting him on waivers and had to keep him. The Cooper may have just done that, because other teams are going to see that from last night and go, wow, this kid's got some juice and we need a receiver. Let's take a shot on him potentially. There's some, he's got some size issues too. He's only 5'11", so that factors into it.
He's built though, man. One thing to be 5'11".
He's very stocky. He's very stocky, but typically there aren't a ton of stocky 5'11" receivers in the NFL. You're looking for the old traits, like we always talk about with edge rushers and tackles. You got to have length, and if you don't reach this arm length, they're moving the inside like Tyler Steen.
Right.
That's some of the things that Darius is dealing with. Because typically you need different proportions to be a successful NFL wide receiver. But some guys can just play. Like that's Micah Parsons. When he came out, everybody projected him, not everybody, because I didn't, but most people projected him as a off-ball linebacker because his arms were too short to be an edge rusher. Well, how's that working out?
Right.
Some guys can just play. And I don't want to make that comp, because I criticize other people. Obviously, he's not Micah Parsons as a receiver, but I'm using that as an extreme example of the fact that some guys can just play, even though they don't have the measurables that typically identify success.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's plenty to talk about with Darius Cooper. I think he certainly made the job harder. I mean, obviously, the Eagles have one of the best tandem of wide receivers at the top of the depth chart, but we've talked about, John, for a long time that they don't have great depth on the outside. If one of those guys goes down, that was evident last year when those players did miss a couple of games. Now you got this kid who, to me, looks like he's the perfect fit to line up on the outside if somebody goes down or if something happens. And, again, I don't know how many receivers you think they're going to keep. If you have Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith slotted, that gives you 5. Dotson's obviously 3. I'm keeping Darius Cooper at 6. And I happen to think, I don't know how close do you think he is to a player like Jahan Dotson in terms of skill, in terms of like what you think they're now you've seen them both at practice together. It's one thing to see him and be like, hey, that guy looks really good, but I don't know. It's only been a couple practices, right? You can't, now you've seen him in a game situation. You add that to what you've seen from practice. How close do you think he is to a player like Dotson? And I don't mean disrespect to Dotson with this comment.
No, well, they're both 5'11". Jahan, again, I would love to tell you, his pre-draft measurables, but he didn't get invited to the combine. So my presumption is Jahan's faster. Number one, he was the 16th pick in the draft. He was a 4.4 guy. Yeah, I think they're different styles of receivers. Obviously, Jahan probably weighs 190 maybe. And Cooper's much stockier. So, we were talking about comps for him yesterday. There aren't a lot of 5'11", whatever he is, 205-pound receivers in the NFL, because that's generally not what they're looking for from a measurable standpoint. And that's some guys are smaller, but they're slot, they're shifty, they're quick.
Right.
He's powerful. And you see some of the separation skill. I did see NFL, I'll pull that up, and NFL media did, have him on their list to where they did a scouting report on him, which again, why wouldn't they after what he did? I think, I had to double check. I'm like, is Tarleton State Division I? And it is. So they play some good teams. So their weaknesses, I'll read you their weaknesses. And this is from Lance Zierlein. Sorry if I never heard Lance's last name, but people should know him. Lacks the suddenness to bypass and separate from press. Well, he's done that all practice now. And he did it last night. So I saw plenty of suddenness. It's separation I've seen all summer. Routes are inefficient with sloppy footwork. That I believe because of where he played. And I'm sure he's got to improve his technique. And that's probably the biggest hurdle for him.
Right.
So that's probably true. Rounds his routes off too much and drifts, which is a big thing with receivers. Really good receivers, the good route runners, the Devontae Smiths, the Justin Jefferson, they cut on a dime. Everything.
Yeah, but also there's also a subset of receivers that don't, like AJ Brown.
Oh, there's tons of them.
Yeah,
they round off their routes, and that's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, but for some people it works. Some people are good enough to make it work.
I wouldn't put AJ in that. AJ's a good route runner.
No,
he's not Devontae, but he's a good route runner. Generally, if at this level, if you round off your routes, it's not going to be too successful. High number of his catch tries are contested. That goes back to the narrative that he doesn't create separation. I've seen the exact opposite. I think people saw now on film against backup players. You got to put that for the most part. But he was playing early too, and rarely scares cornerbacks during the drive phase. So generally receivers drive cornerbacks off with their explosiveness. So those were the weaknesses from NFL.com. I don't agree with a lot of them, especially the separation stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't let the guy to the combine. I don't know how much tape the guy who wrote that, saw of Darius Cooper.
Well, Lance has been doing. He's watching. He's watching them. He's not just making sure.
No, yeah, I know Lance does it, but Lance probably watched 500 guys ahead of Darius Cooper.
Probably. But hey, man, remember. Like, okay, he's not playing against, top tier. He's not out there against Derek Stingley or J.C. Horn or whatever, or Sauce Gardner. But, all the other second tier receivers on both teams are playing the same environment. And he was the best one. And a lot of them are considered NFL players. So that's the context of it to me. And I think he's a good player, but there aren't a lot of 5'11", 210 is what they list him as. He's thick. So generally it's kind of a strange template for an NFL receiver.
Yep. Johnny Mac, let's move into the cornerbacks, man. Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo were the two biggest losers of the night, in my opinion. I didn't think they played good. Keely had the big, obviously the splash play against them. I went back and watched some of the plays early in the game, and the one thing that did stick out about Ringo that you've been talking about all camp, John, is he gives up plays, but he is right there. He was right there. He just doesn't finish the plays off. You go over to Adoree Jackson. I thought he was even worse. I didn't think he was anywhere in the ballpark. I just didn't think he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like he knew where to be out there. Very low, no physicality, very small. I didn't realize how small Adoree Jackson was. But what'd you see from those guys? Because I think that's the biggest concern on this football team right now. And I think it's starting to make a whole lot of sense why Monday night I was live talking about a trade for a cornerback coming in.
Yeah, well, I think it speaks volumes that the winner in the Eagles cornerback competition was Jacorian Bennett because he didn't play. And people are still enamored by the thought of what he could be, and what we'll see. Obviously, this week he'll get on the practice field. They're going to be back out there on Saturday, so we'll see with him. But it was not a positive first step for Ringo or Jackson, to say the least. And I do think, again, context is important. That's Jamar Chase out there. That isn't some, Charlie Jones or whoever's making plays on Adoree later in the game, whoever it was. That is arguably the best receiver in football. He won the Triple Crown last year. Most receptions, most receiving yards, most touchdowns. He is a phenomenal player. But as Nick Sirianni said after the game, and so did Keely, to his credit, that's got to be a 16-yard gain, that touchdown. All right, you're giving up. That's a great player. You're giving up a play, which is the next play in the Eagles' mentality, 15-plus yards. But then you got to make the tackle, and you got to limit it. It's like a great scorer. The old, he's going to get his, but you got to stop it right there. And that's where, he out leveraged himself. He knew exactly what he did wrong. And obviously when Chase, maybe you can get away with that somewhat with some other receivers, but you're not going to get away with it with Jamar Chase. So you do have to put that context you aren't going to see, and you mentioned they're going to play some good quarterbacks and they're going to play some good receivers. Well, it doesn't get done. The quarterback wide receiver duo last night was #1 in the NFL, literally #1. The quarterback connection wide receiver, that's #1. You're going to see a lot of good ones. You're not going to see that one again. That's
Well,
the
how do you
top
think
of
you
it.
would fare better against I don't know, let's say like the Bucks are an interesting one because they got 3 good receivers. Now, they're not Jamar Chase, and I'm not saying they are, but I'm still questioning whether Keely Ringo can hang with them. Because when you're cornerback too, I said this last night. This is how I'm thinking about it, and maybe this is the wrong way to think about it. You let me know if it is. Do you trust Ringo to be the role that Quinion was last year? The cornerback 2 in the zone Vic Fangio scheme. I
No,
I don't feel very good about that.
but I haven't trusted. I don't trust Jalen Hunt and Josh Sweat's role. I don't trust Morrow and Milton's role. I don't trust Ringo and whether you want to call it Slay's role, and you're right, Mitchell's in Slay's role. He's in Mitchell's role technically. I don't trust Trotter and N'Kobe's role. I don't trust
The
Sidney
players you
Brown.
just named, though, John, doesn't that mean we need better corners this year? Like last year was so complimentary from the sense of corners were so good in coverage. The edge rushers got great pressure. That created the perfect tandem of defensive football. Pressure on quarterback, nowhere to throw the ball. You create sacks, you create turnovers, create all these different things. All right, edge rusher not going to be as good this year. You better have a lockdown corner because it's a compounding effect. If you can't get home and you can't cover, you're going to have a long night.
Well, and I get it because, cornerback's a position where he was out on an island against his best receiver in football and got destroyed. So I get it. That's obvious to everybody. They see it. Some of the other stuff isn't as noticeable, but that's what I'm saying. I don't trust any of those players to replace the players they're expected to replace. Now, some will probably play better than I expect. Some will play worse. But yeah, if that's your gauge, there, my opinion is, well, you got to gauge everybody that way. And do you have confidence in those other guys? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think I think everybody's in that same category. But yeah, I've said, and I'm a big Kaylee guy, but if you heard me, I've said pretty consistently they're going to have big problems trying to replace Slay, and I don't think people realize it.
Yeah.
And again, it's more of a layered, as you point out. Quinion will be cornerback 1, which is fine, but
Might be
then
different if he's traveling. Might change the dynamic a little bit of the room, but yeah, I can't.
yeah.
Say
Well,
I
I mean,
feel
Christian
good about
Clark.
it doesn't sound like you're as out on him as most, but I don't know, John. I feel like you got a unique opportunity with a year where you're going into a year coming off a Super Bowl win where at large, most people think you have a team built to go back to the Super. Even someone objective like yourself who doesn't care whether they win or lose says, yeah, objectively, this is one of the top rosters in football. They're in the conversation. You're going to go into this year with Keely Ringo at cornerback?
Well, you can't have everything. And they're trying to bring competition to bring, whether it's Bennett, whether Adoree starts playing better, whether Eli Ricks gets involved.
I think Eli Ricks looked not great, but okay. I mean, I don't know. He
Well,
might.
I think and by the way, I think that changes if he catches it and takes it in. Everybody's thrilled and saying Eli Ricks, Eli Ricks, Eli Ricks. That's what
he had the one play he got burnt bad, didn't he? Didn't he get beat?
Yeah. But that's it. Vic said it 5 times last week in his press conference. He was like, got to eliminate the negative plays. Everybody's focused on the splash plays. And the problem is Kaylee had a negative splash play. So it's so obvious to people. But I think overall, and I'm going to be interested to see the PFF grades. And I don't know. And I haven't even rewatched the game because I had to get some sleep. So I have to rewatch the game. But just my first impression was, I think now by no means because I think they both played poorly, but I think Ringo was better than Jackson in that game. Was my first sort of feeling just watching it live. I don't think Adoree played well.
No, I didn't either.
So I don't think Ringo played well either. Again, and to your point, yeah, I've said it pretty consistently. I mean, Uche and Ojolari got a ton of reps. Really didn't do much.
No, didn't do much.
Think about the deference players. Think about Jelix Hunt's involved with the deference players. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. And people can look at it as positive. Guy played 200 and whatever snaps in the
I
regular
kind of thought
season
he should have
last
been
year.
out there last night.
But they're so concerned about getting him hurt. That I guarantee that was a Howie decision. It's like, no, we can't play Jelix. Why can't you play Jelix? Well, because God forbid.
Yeah, right.
So I don't disagree with Howie's sentiment for what he has, but that's a guy that needs to be on the field and getting reps, and you don't feel comfortable giving him reps because of what's behind him. So there's still more issues on defense than I would be comfortable with, and I'm sure Vic feels the same way.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. John, good stuff there. Let's continue to roll on. Those were the two biggest concerns of the game, or the two biggest negatives, right? Is the Cooper, or is the not Cooper, is the Ringo and Adoree Jackson nights, you would say?
Yeah, from a starting perspective, I think lower key because of the splashiness, but I think edge is similar because I didn't see much.
There was zero pressure for sure. Ty Robinson got some pressure here and there. Right?
Ty did a nice job.
Yeah. Wondering if he's a game player, John, not a practice guy.
Well, he better turn it. I don't think that's the case. I just think he's a rookie and he learning as thing. And that to me, now he's a rookie, so it's a little bit different. Like they probably, they want him to play. They traded Thomas Booker, so now there's more of an urgency to get him out there. So they gave him a shitload. He was out there in the fourth quarter. They gave him a shitload of reps. I wish NFL would put him up the rep count, but I'm going to be interested to see how high it was. And I thought he did a good job overall and showed some signs. So that's a positive.
Yeah, that's a positive. The excitement is that preseason game number 2, which is not this Saturday tomorrow, but next week Saturday, is that we get to probably see Jacorian Bennett, somebody we haven't seen yet, and all sights will be on you, Jacorian. So start to get ready because you'll have an opportunity of what I think to maybe put yourself in that conversation to be the starting corner. We will see. John, plenty of super chats we'll get to in a second. Appreciate everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. The football season is back, everybody. Johnny Mac, keep rolling along. I want to talk about Jihad Campbell. Obviously, he was the one guy that everybody was super excited to see coming into the game. I didn't think he did everything great. I thought needs some polish, and you can tell he's a rookie. He had the one penalty as well, but he was all over the place in terms of, he was always around the ball whenever it was near him. And I think that's a good thing when you're a linebacker. You want that instinct, and he has the athleticism to match it. What'd you think of Jihad Campbell last night?
Well, nobody questions his athleticism, sort of the opposite of what we were talking about with Darius Cooper. He's got, everything from the standpoint of what they look for. Measurables and things like that, and obviously physical gifts, the length, the athleticism, the speed. My concern is he didn't start. Smile Munden started, and that was started to be a trend about 2 or 3 practices before the game, is that Smile was getting more reps than Jihad. So that tells me that Vic isn't happy with how he's picking things up. So that's more of my concern. Like, how quickly is he going to be able to pick things up? And I think that's sort of trending in a negative direction. And I'm more confident today than I had been that, I thought ultimately, well, if Campbell's going to be out there, he's going to be a week 1 starter. I don't know how it develops. But I think it's going to be Zach and Trot week 1. I think it's heading that direction. and I think Trot had a solid game. He's not, he had a chance for an interception as well. Should have brought it in.
Yeah.
But I thought he was much more impressive. And, he's been here. This is his second year. His dad's a linebacker. He's got, he's very instinctive player in college. So, that, and I don't know how many people noticed that, but Smile Munden started, not Jihad Campbell. That's what I said last night.
Right.
And Smile had his own.
Campbell came in the second series, right?
Yeah. And Smile, and it'll be interesting to see the rep counts when they come out because they both played a decent amount. But,
yeah, right.
And sometimes they played together. So, but Smile had his own welcome to the NFL moment with Mac McWilliams, another rookie, when the tight end dragged him into the end zone. Those guys got to get more physical. So, I thought it was a mixed bag with Campbell, but you always see the stuff that stands out: length, athleticism, range. And when he figures it out, he's going to be a big player. My concern is if he never figures it out. We just went through a linebacker that everybody thought was great for years and years and years and never figured it out. And he was the fifth pick in the draft. And that's Devin White.
Right.
So, long way to go, I think, from the technique, understanding, fundamentals, all that kind of stuff. And that obviously is very big with Vic.
John, you're to the safety spot. Sidney Brown, what'd you see from him? Got that injury. Not sure what that meant from the telecast, John. I'm not sure if you were, obviously, I don't think you watched the TV, but, he made the hit. Doesn't wrap up. I don't know why he doesn't wrap up. Such a strong physical player. Doesn't wrap up.
Nobody tackles well because they don't tackle.
Yeah, they don't tackle. Teaching them how to I mean, I played football 3 years of my life. I mean, the first thing I was told was, "You keep your head up and wrap." It's like he doesn't do that. But anyway, he takes the hit. It's a good hit. Bounces right off the running back. Kind of goes down, gets up, and immediately goes like this. Points at his shoulder, and then he came off the field. I never saw him again. So I don't know if it was an injury. I don't know if he has anything serious. I don't know. Maybe he just popped it out and they popped it right back in. I'm not really sure. What'd you see from him on the field? And
I not that I was hoping, but I thought maybe it was they were fearing a concussion because of the hit. But yeah, I didn't see it. I have to watch it again. So you probably got a better view than me. And not that it
looked like he pointed right to his shoulder immediately. So I didn't know if something happened to it or if you heard anything about that.
Well, the problem is with preseason is they don't have to announce injuries at all. They don't have to give you updates. Sydney, Elijah Cooks got carted off. Kenyon Green got carted off. So we'll when I get off the air, start texting around to some agents, and you sometimes you can get updates that way. But yeah, there's no like in the regular season, you have to give injury updates, and you don't have to do that in preseason. So we're kind of in the dark with Sydney, with Elijah, with Kenyon Green, other than those two got carted off. And Kenyon got hurt and was able to walk off on his own, then got carted out. Elijah got carted out. And that's, he's had a great camp, but now the Coopers, he's in deep shape, especially if he's going to be out for a while. And hopefully none of them are serious. But yeah, I mean, if Sydney misses time, it could have the same effect as what it's had with Drew, who missed time. And he seemed to be locking down the job, but if he's got to miss a week or 10 days, Drew's coming back. I'm sure he'll be back in the mix for Cleveland. That'll put him back in the conversation.
Yeah, we'll see. Did you think he was all right when he was out there, or in the snaps he did get?
Well, it's kind of
good or bad, or is it just kind of a mute performance?
It's kind of back and forth. The whole defense was terrible in the first two drives. So, he was
Burrow was surgical. He was like 9 and 10 or something for 120
exactly.
touchdowns and a 157.5 rating, damn near perfect.
So the whole defense was just off its kilter, off on its heels. They didn't know what was hitting them. So in those first two drives, yeah, it wasn't great. Again, mainly the Eagles backups with a few people mixed in. But I was surprised just how many Eagles defenders didn't play. Obviously it was Carter, it was Nolan, it was Jordan Davis, it was Morrow, it was Jalix Hunt, it was, you know, obviously Zach Bond, who's injured but wouldn't have played even if he was healthy. Quinyon, Reed, like the vast majority of their defense didn't play either. So, and you had the competition guys in there who generally didn't play well. But I think Sydney was fine once the onslaught of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase took a seat.
Right.
And then I think he was fine.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, any other quick names? We're going to take our first commercial break. Still plenty to talk about. We're going to talk to Kaden Steel in hour number 2, who was at the game as well. So we'll get his takeaways from what he saw out there. Any other players, John, come to mind that maybe we didn't talk about last night or today? I do think some people made some good plays. Some people kind of stuck out a little bit. Not a great showing from the quarterbacks after Tanner McKee. I thought DTR and Kyle McCord really didn't look great. Just kind of looked like a deer in the headlights out there. Any other players, John, that stuck out to you, both good or bad, either good or bad?
Well, I think good was Patrick Johnson.
That interception was crazy awesome.
Well, not only the play before that, he got a sack. It was
right.
the best pass rush of the day from an edge rusher, and it got taken off the board by a illegal contact penalty down the field. I think it was AJ Woods. But it was a great. That dude, like he's like, I compare him to Anias on offense because Anias had the big punt return. He can play receiver. He's a manufactured touch kind of guy. He can do a lot of different things. That's why he's going to make the team. Patrick can rush. He can play off-ball linebacker if you need him to. And he's one of their best special teams player. But we went through this last year for whatever reason. Like he plays better than everybody, but they want to keep the guys with the upside. And I'm not sure this year to have guys with upsides that need to be kept over Patrick Johnson, to be blunt. Because he's out there making plays. Nobody else is.
Right. Uche and Ojulari were nowhere to be found last night.
Yeah. And Antoine Powell-Ryland hasn't done much. So I mean, I'm sure they'll cut Patrick again, unfortunately. But if you needed snaps, he's going to give you competent snaps, and he's going to make a play every once in a while. Again, not a position I want to be in on the edge. I'd like to get better. I'm not sure you are better, just because the presumption is Josh Uche did this in 2022, or Azeez Ojulari was good at Georgia. Those guys have not stood out, not only in the game, but in practice. Uche's had a couple moments here and there, but certainly not consistent. And even in practice, I think Patrick's a better practice player. Maybe if you're a better practice player and you show up and you're a better game player, maybe you're better.
Yeah, right. Remember last year what happened with Patrick Johnson? They cut him, kind of played the waiver wire thing. He got picked up by the Giants, and now he's back this year. We'll see what they do. Let's go to some super chats before we get to our first commercial break. Appreciate everybody for being here. Hit that like button. Great shows last night on the channel, and appreciate all the great viewership that we've had. You guys are awesome, and it's good to be back in Eagles season mode. Prince says, I watched the game again. Ringo is terrible at the fundamentals. A simple breakdown he can't even do correctly. Darius Cooper is a demon. Sign him. I agree about Darius Cooper. I do not want that guy to leave.
Well, he's already signed, but
no, I mean when the cuts come, I want him on the freaking team. Yeah. I like that player.
A simple breakdown. One addition against Jamar Chase, which is not a simple breakdown. Yeah, I mean, technique, and Zander talked about it with tackling with Sydney. Yeah, it's a problem. And the Eagles work on it, and that's one of the things because they don't have a lot of technique. They don't tackle. They don't have live periods, and then all of a sudden, one of the best athletes in the world is in the open field, and you got to break it down. It's not as simple as it looks. That's my biggest issue with fans. You don't look at the other side, man. Shamar Chase. But again, he's got to do a better job, which he acknowledged and Nick acknowledged as well.
Good stuff there. Prince, thanks for the super chat, brother. Cody checks in. What's up, Cody? Cooper reminds me of a shorter Abe Bolden. That's actually not a bad comp. Not a bad comp for
yeah, that's a better one. Big physical. Again, I hate the comps against great players, but it's a better from a physical standpoint. But Anquan was I never know if people are doing the physical comp, which I like, or the player comp, which I don't like. Because that's a great player for a long time, Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, good stuff there, Cody. Appreciate it, brother. Brian Pump checking in. There he is. What's up, Pumper? Say nice things about Project 89. J-Mac, you eat your words about Tanner Delphia. I told you he has a bazooka strapped to his arm. Elite ball spinner.
Oh, well, I do the over. Now you gotta reel him back. I've seen it's the best backup in football. He's a starting level quarterback. Maybe if you can get the number 1 overall pick, I'd trade him. The trade talk is starting again. You got to reel him back, but he did play well. That's, and to me, again, he's not Brett Favre, Bumper. I don't know what you're looking at. He's not Brett Favre, but he can make every NFL throw. So that's not an issue. But to me, the strength of his game last night was elevating others. To your point about Johnny Wilson, that's the best Johnny Wilson has ever looked. And giving somebody a chance to make plays, putting the ball, high pointing the ball, because Johnny's got to get a lot of contested catches, and he was making them last night. And him distributing the ball, putting it in the right place, and elevating the guys around him. And Tanner himself compares his game to being a point guard. Like he's not Brett Favre. He's process, get the ball where it's supposed to go, and put it on the numbers and let the playmakers do what they need to do. And he did a great job last night.
Yeah, good stuff, Pump. Appreciate you being here, brother. As always, one of our best supporters. We love you, Pump. Eduardo checking in, member for 13 months. Look at that, Eduardo. Thank you, my man. He says, Madden needs to throw some respect on my QB2's name. We have a problem at CB2. Sydney needs to learn how to tackle better or he'll have a short season. I agree with all the above.
Well, I disagree with the Madden because you guys got to stop paying attention to Madden ratings because they don't freaking matter.
Hey, don't blame us. The Eagles are posting after the game last night. Hey, at Madden NFL, I think you got to adjust.
Well, and Tanner made a little joke about it as well. But again, if people take that stuff seriously, maybe don't take it as seriously. And Eagles social media is just trying to get engagement. That's their job.
All right, but I'm saying they do create a narrative. You know what I mean? They do permeate the narrative that you're talking about and make it a bigger thing than it is. And players do care about that stuff, John. I think you're wrong about that. I think players really care.
I never said. What do you mean? I've never said they didn't care about it.
Well,
I said they shouldn't care about it. Yeah. I said they shouldn't. Now AJ on that same video was a little bit low, and AJ took the raise. All right, whatever. Now, some guys are obsessed by it. I agree. It's bizarre. Well, they grew up in a video game world, and it's a big thing to them. But Madden knows nothing about Tanner McKee. Their mentality, he's never played, really. So let's give him a 60, whatever they gave him. That's That's the thought process.
They had McCord higher. They better go and adjust that because I don't think Kyle McCord quite looked as good as Tanner McKee.
And again, Kyle McCord, why? We talked about that the other day. Why? Because he was a great player at Ohio State, and they know it. And he was a great player at Syracuse, and he set the ACC record for passing. So he's pretty good. Let's throw him at a 70, whatever. I just spent way too much time talking about it. But
I love how you hate the Madden ratings, but you do have a nice explanation for how they came up with the Madden ratings.
Well, no, I have no idea how they came up with them.
Well, you keep giving me the answer on why
it's not an answer. It's a guess. It's not an answer.
Yeah, well, you're probably right.
It's my speculation.
There you go.
That they know Kyle McCord from Ohio State, and they know him from Syracuse, and they don't know shit about Tanner McKee because he played in college at 7 o'clock at night, and they're probably asleep on him.
Yeah. Tanner Delphia, put some respect on his name, Madden. Rich Nutt, member for 12 months. Thank you, brother. Thanks for being here. Rich, thanks for being a member. Any chance of Dotson as trade bait, given the young guy's talent? Get some defensive backs.
Well, they already made a trade for a corner. I don't know how many, how many corners they're going to bring in. If they can get an edge rusher, I've talked about that since the spring. That's a low key trade candidate, not because the Eagles don't like him, not because he's not a good player, but because if some of these guys develop, and at the time I was more on Terrace Marshall than Darius Cooper, but now it's more Darius Cooper. I mean, they know he's not going to be here next year. So this is
how big of a fall off you think it'd be if they I'm not saying he's a better player than Dotson, but in theory, if they moved on from Dotson and put Darius in that spot, kept Anais and Johnny as the roles that they're cut out.
Yeah, we're getting too hyped on preseason. But the problem is it wouldn't be Darius Cooper. It would be Anais or Johnny Wilson. And that's a significant drop-off. So I would not be a fan of doing that. But if they need, hey, guess what?
I don't see Anais Smith doing what Darius Cooper can do. Now, maybe I'm overreacting on one preseason game, but so be it.
You are somewhat overreacting on one preseason. I'm telling you, if the Eagles did that, and they might, again, I'm talking like 5-10%. I'm not talking about likely or anything of that nature. But I've been talking about him as a low-key trade candidate. If more somebody like Terrace Marshall stayed healthy and continued to play well. And then the drop-off would be less significant in their mind. They still look at Darius Cooper. I get it. You guys are coming off seeing him play the way he played in a preseason game, but they still see him as more of a developmental prospect. It steps to it. Jihad's very, he might have not lived up to his hype as the 16th overall pick, but I think you saw last night he was great. He was the wide receiver 1. And he was only out there for a short period of time. Tanner McKee threw it twice on the opening drive. Both to Jahan Dotson, I think, for 27 yards. Dude can play. But to the point of the trade part of it is, if they're really worried about whether it's corner or whether it's edge rusher, and they say, all right, you got to give up something to get something of value. But I don't, to me, that was Terrace Marshall's lane. And Terrace was playing great early, and then he got hurt.
All right.
And maybe he can come back, and maybe that can kickstart. But right now, I don't see it.
Good stuff, Rich Nutt. Thanks for the for the chat, brother. Rich again follows up. Justin Simmons watched J-Mac. I'm waiting to hear about that shoulder because it did look like, John, on the screen he went like this. Immediately.
Until Justin Simmons signs somewhere, and I'm sure he's waiting for that injury, probably in Philadelphia. So until he signs somewhere else, I'm not taking it off the table. But I think the Eagles would prefer that Sydney or Drew would do enough to win that job. Obviously, injuries would change that pretty quickly. So if it's something significant, yeah, I wouldn't close the door. I wouldn't close the door.
Not my favorite option, but I do agree, Rich. It's probably makes you feel a little bit better than at least I do right now. Worst behavior checks in. What's up, Worst? As impressive as Cooper was, this team barely uses wide receiver 3. Trade him for some DB depth. That's the area. I don't think you're getting much on a trade for. I don't think you're going to get much on a trade for him. But
yeah, yeah, come on. I mean, the guy was an undrafted free agent. Everybody had a shot at. You're not getting anything on the trade market.
Now, Dotson, I'll consider because I think Darius Cooper can fucking play. Sometimes someone shows you who they are. I'm the eternal optimist in me says I'm going to believe that kid can play, baby. I like Darius Cooper, John. I'm starting the campaign for him to make the team.
Well, I'm the one who started it on this show, and I wrote about it 2 days before.
But I can't see him. How, I can only, I can't.
No, I'm not saying that. But then I feel like, well, now I got to roll it back. I mean, come on. Don't overstate it. That's what I'm saying. He's doing a nice job for an undrafted rookie that everybody overlooked.
Guy was cooking last night, Johnny Mac. Come on, man. Darius Cooper. Come on. I like it. The worst behavior.
It's like the same thing with Morrow. I wrote Morrow was the most improved player on the Eagles. I gave him the vote for the upward trajectory and Jimmy's thing. And then they're going to scale it back because the expectations are crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Darius Cooper. I'm like, well, keep an eye on this kid. And now it gets to this point. I got to scale it back. And then I went bad. It's like, then I'm like the hater. And I'm like, I'm the guy who told everybody he's doing wonderful things.
Well, listen, John, the top 2 receivers don't play. We think about they're going to keep 5. Hey, I'm looking at the backups. That guy was the best one of the bunch. You would think he'd make the team. Now, I get it. There's obviously a lot more that goes into it. And we'll see how it shakes out.
Well, I'll tell you who's making the team. And I've said it for a long time. And I'll say it again. Johnny fucking Wilson and Anais Smith.
Johnny makes more sense to me than Anais, but
whatever. Get used to it. They're making the team. Anais just had a 46-yard punt return.
That was a great punt return by him, man. That was awesome to watch.
Actually, he had trouble catching it. But
he kind of went back and turned around to get it. Yeah, but he made some nice.
That's my concern with Anais because sometimes it's not clean, and to be a punt returner, you got to be clean. But it was a great return after he did.
Harris checking in. He says, body-wise, Cooper is similar size to Jalen Reason, who was 5'11", 200. Who's Jalen Reason?
I don't know, but there's Anquan was a good one. I saw Steve Smith compare who's in the Hall of Fame. By the way.
Yeah, Cody said just by the physical when he was the one who said about Anquan.
Yeah, I mean, those are some guys who are a good physical comparison that a lot of people will remember and know. But it's rare, to have that frame. And that's part of the reason why I probably went undrafted, because it's rare.
He was saying Rager. Jalen Rager.
Yeah, well, yeah. Right. Again, Rager, because of what went on, and obviously, to say the least, didn't live up to his draft status, to put it mildly. Again, he was a phenomenal athlete. I think people don't realize. I think there's this weird revisionist history with Jalen Rager that if the Eagles didn't take him where they took him, that he would have went in the second round or the third round.
He was going next.
Yeah. I wasn't going next, but he was going to New Orleans. I don't know what Minnesota would have pivoted to, but he was going to New Orleans. He was going right away. He was a big time prospect and just didn't, one of the things I say all the time is way too many people think you draft a good player or a bad player. And, player development is a real thing. You don't draft a good player or bad. Sometimes you do. Sometimes some guys are so good that they're going to be a star no matter what. But there's far more where guys have to develop, and you have to develop them. And I think Rager lost confidence early, and shit goes downhill quickly.
Yeah. Darius Cooper has arrived, Johnny Mac. Penn says, Cooper, Wilson looked great. Tanner McKee doing? Definitely. I mean, Tanner McKee had
I said that was the most, to me, elevated the people around him.
Yeah, it's your first comment, John, about McKee. Elevated everybody.
Yeah.
I like it. I thought his pocket awareness for a big, I don't want to call him unathletic, but he's obviously his skill set is not, playing on the move. I thought he had
that's
awareness.
One of the things I really have never seen with Tanner. And I think if he ever has to play, and let's be honest, you hope he never has to play, at least for an extended period, but at least here, obviously, because that means injury to Jalen. But I've never seen him under siege with a big time pass rush where he has to move and he has to do some things. And again, he's not going to be like Jalen Hurts, but you need functional mobility. And I don't know if that question's been answered yet. But everything that, when he's got time to process and do things, he's proven he can play.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought he looked really good last night. Good game for Tanner McKee. Last one here, Mike Berghorst checking in. What's up, Mike? Good to see you, my guy. Haven't seen you in a bit, Mike. Hope you're having a good summer, and I hope you're ready for the Eagles season. He says, do you think the other starting cornerback is on the team now, or will Howie get someone before the season starts? Maybe Jacorian Bennett. Johnny Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's on the team now. I don't think that's a good thing, but I mean, he made his move. He made his move at corner. Like you're not trading for
you're not bringing in 3 corners and all that.
It doesn't work. I mean, he made his move at corner, so it's going to be Ringo, it's going to be Jackson, or it's going to be Bennett. And I wouldn't be comfortable with that at this stage.
We'll see what happens on that front. Ringo's obviously the talk of the town in terms of a negative perspective. Cooper and Tanner are the talk of the town on the positive side of the football. We'll continue to break down the game last night. Birds did get the win, 34-27, for whatever that's worth. Obviously, as I like what John said, though, they got a culture. They have a habit of winning in everything that they do, and I think that's a good thing. I wanted to see them win, and they did. Chris Albright, one more chat here before the break, says, hey, J-Mac, do you have any intel on the on-field pre-practice portion of the open practice? I know the times got changed, but not sure why.
The times of the you're talking about the times of the little walkthrough type things they do before practice. I don't know exactly what it's thought. It was a little bit later. Yeah. I mean, for all Nick's, he's probably trying to confuse people whether, I don't know why he would care, but what if because the starters dressed and went through a typical pregame warm up and then went back into street clothes and just watched the game. So they do that a lot. They're trying to get used to the pregame part of it and get gearing up for the game. And so if that's what you're talking about, and I think there's it's a much more lax atmosphere in preseason. Like the NFL demands times, like when you get to a regular season game, there's a clear schedule of everything pregame. And that doesn't really exist in the preseason. So things can be a little bit more lax.
Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. Great stuff. Good win last night for the Birds. A lot of good to take away, a couple negative things to take away. We talked about them all here on the show. We'll continue to break it down, continue to see what's going on. We'll get the schedule for the weekend or for the upcoming Eagles events. We'll do all that. Coming up next here on Birds 365. Don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. Appreciate you all for being here. Your comments down below in the chat are always good. We appreciate those. And hit subscribe to the channel if you're new. We appreciate it. We'll be live all year long covering this football team. We'll be right back, everybody, in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters. and the high rollers, to the shot takers and the tastemakers. Welcome to the viewfinders, the thrill seekers, and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the jet setters and the high rollers, to the thrill seekers and the night owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365. Wrapping up Eagles preseason game number 1. They got a win over the Bengals. A lot of players made some great plays, did some good things out there. Johnny Mack, how about this? Tanner McKee, 20 of 25, 253 total, 3 total touchdowns, a 135 rating. And in those 3 touchdowns, a little tush push for Tanner McKee. I love that.
How about that? How about that? I was interested at the moment. I said, will they use the tush push with Tanner? And they did. And it was successful. So I didn't think they would. Because obviously he doesn't have the same mobility but he is a big guy. And he is a smart guy. So I think that's more of just let him figure out the soft spot and let him go. But yeah, I don't think it would be as successful if Jalen wasn't involved
line too
on a consistent basis. Yeah, just a hunch.
Second team O-line too. I thought that was impressive part about it.
Well, I talked about their second team off compared to everybody else at second team offense.
Drew Kendall had a good night, John. I thought he looked good.
Yeah, he's a good player. I'm surprised it's taken so long to now. He'll be the second team center, I think, moving forward. But took him a while to get there, and they want young guys to earn spots. So I get that part of it. And you saw it. I still think even though Kyle McCord wasn't impressive, he's going to be the third quarterback, and I think you'll see that shift next week. He'll come in before Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But they want, rookies to earn it. And I think that's a good approach, even when they're competing against each other. Like ultimately, Zach Bond's going to be back, so it's not going to matter. But Small Munden's been getting more and more first team reps while Zach is out. And they rewarded him with a preseason start. So they like to make rookies earn things, even the first round pick.
Yep, no doubt about it. Campbell, speaking of him, had a solid game, but there were some couple things there that stuck out. When will we see McCuba, John? We got to see McCuba on the field, man. If we think he's going to have a chance to play this year at any point.
Well, he's going to have a chance to play at some point. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about that.
No, I'm not worried about it, but I do think it's going to be valuable for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about week one, yeah, he's got to be on the field quickly, and probably you're going to need that Sidney Brown, which you never want to do, that injury to be something. That's how he probably gets it back in the conversation. If he missed 6 practices. So team drills of 6 practices. If Sidney's got to miss 6 practices, he might be right back in the mix. But again, that's a position I'm not necessarily comfortable with. Who I thought played pretty well that I didn't mention. I probably should have mentioned Andre Sam. I thought he did a nice job last night on first watch. Again, I got to watch it again. And even Max and Hook, I've been waiting.
Yeah, Max and Hook is okay. Yeah,
little bit later in the game, but I thought those 2 guys played better than maybe Tristan and Sidney. But Sidney's out there against different animal. When Cincinnati had the guys they had out there to start. But I thought Andre played well. I thought Maxon showed some things late. But that's a position I'm not necessarily comfortable with either.
Yeah, they've remained my 2 biggest questions, is that corner and safety. While I do agree with you that the edges could be an issue, I feel like the corner and the safety is at least a little bit more unknown. I don't know. Like I don't know what to make of it at this point. I don't want to overreact to the preseason game, but these are guys that haven't really proved much at the NFL level. And then the next, the opportunity they've got, they've still proved, they still kind of didn't really show much. That's why I think Vic is maybe that's why Vic has been tempering the expectation on the cornerback 2 battle for this team.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bix tends to be a straight shooter, and he said it 5 times with the young players. They got to eliminate the negative plays, and that tells me there's been a lot of negative plays in practice. So, but that's to be expected, and sometimes, and I brought up Ty Robinson. To me, he hasn't had an impressive training camp, but they threw him in the deep end of the pool. They gave him a ton of reps, and I think he played better. And he's a physical guy. Maybe live helps him, but I thought he was one of the bigger positives that probably we should have talked about a little bit more. Because I think there were a couple times he had a sack. They only had 1 sack, and it was Ty Robinson. Patrick Johnson again should have had a sack, but they didn't have a great pass rush. And when they did seem to make some kind of the quarterback uncomfortable, was usually the inside rush. I thought Gabe Hall did a good job as well. He played a lot too, and that showed you. Some of the reasons why the Eagles felt comfortable sending Thomas Booker to Las Vegas because of, some of the young guys. And even I thought it was positive that, some of the guys who just got here, Joe Evans, Jacob Sykes made a couple plays. And that's a guy that.
Yeah, he was a name I didn't know, John Jacob Sykes. I had to look him up.
Mention them, but we're the only show that mentions everybody. And Joe Evans and Jacob Sykes are 2 guys they signed late, right before training camp. And I mentioned it was strange to me because They signed 3 defensive front players right before training camp started. The most notable, oh, by the way, it's Obo. It's not Ogbo, it's Obo.
Obo?
Obo.
Oh, man.
So anyway, they added him. They added Joe Evans. They added Jacob Sykes. And I thought that was notable at the time because, that tells me that Vic looked at the offseason and said, I need some more depth. And Jacob Sykes is a guy who made a couple plays. Not going to make the team, but I like to mention every player. So there you have.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. You do a great job at that. We just got an absolute banger, and I this guy is unbelievable. James Carver, John, drops in 50 gifted memberships to the great people of JAKIB Nation. That is unbelievable. I don't know if you guys are aware that's a major contribution to the channel. 50 of those things at $5 a pop. You do the math, James. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that very much, man. You're one of our best supporters. Always have been, and I know you've been going through a lot. We love you here on Birds 365 on JAKIB Sports. One of the best ever is our main man, James Carver. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see James back. I haven't seen James for a while.
Yeah, he's been tuned in. He's told me he's been tuned in, but his schedule's been way thrown off by some of the things that happened in his personal life.
And Anais Smith is coming. James,
yeah, baby.
He was
Anais Smith.
Anais Smith truther, hanging in there. Unlike Harrison Bryant's truther, who's bailing.
Yeah, right.
Alan Granson, by the way.
Harrison Bryant's true. I am. You know what I am now, John? I am the Darius
Cooper truther.
Yeah, I am the Darius Cooper truther. You cut that guy, I'm going to have an issue.
Yeah. I was the first to alert. 2 days before the game, I had to retweet it. I wrote about Darius Cooper.
Yeah, you have been talking about him. But it's, again, he's one of those names where the amount of times I've heard you bring up names, and you do a great job at it, and then they just never show themselves or appear, to be of any substance. A lot of names come and go. That's just kind of how it works. There's 90 guys, 40 of them aren't going to make the team. So I didn't know if Darius Cooper was another one of those guys. I freaking like Darius Cooper. James, thanks for the membership gifted, brother. That's going to be big, by the way, for everybody in the chat, because we are going to do a bunch of giveaways. I reached out already to get some jerseys in. So we're going to do a bunch of giveaways, and you got to be a member to be a giveaway or to be entered into the giveaway. So 50
more. The members are going to spike.
Yep, the members are
that Darius. By the way, don't give away that Darius Cooper jersey, because if he makes the team, he's not going to be 41.
Yeah, he's going to have to get a prime number, Darius Cooper. John, this kid's going to have a career in this league. We'll see how it all shakes out. James, thank you, brother. Love you, man, and appreciate the support of the channel. Goes a very long way. Let's go to our main man, Kaden Steel, set to join us right now on Birds 365 following preseason game number 1. He was down at the game last night. Kaden, welcome to the show, man. A Football Friday edition. Football is back in Philadelphia. How you doing, Kaden?
It's going well. I mean, I can sense the hype on your side.
Yeah.
We're 1 week
in. We got a temper. Now all of a sudden I've unleashed a monster.
John's trying to talk me off the ledge over here.
Now he's Steve Smith. He's Anquan Bolden.
When are we getting the gold jacket ready?
The gold jackets.
Hey, don't tell me you weren't impressed with Darius Cooper last night.
I was.
We were all impressed.
Right now,
all impressed.
He belongs on the roster. I think there is something there. I'm not ready to declare he's going to be, starting NFL wide receiver, but he looked good.
By the way, congratulations on making bail from the Lincoln Financial Field prison that they lock us in now every night game, it seems. So number one, congratulations. Glad to see you made it back. But there was a lot of good. But we'll start with the bad, because that's how the game started. And when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were out there, it was not pretty. And it started with Kaylee Ringo, most notably, because he gave up the big touchdown. But I don't think Adoree Jackson played well either, at all. That cornerback situation, how do you feel about that?
The biggest winner of last night's game was Jacorian Bennett. People have been arguing about whether, what's he brought in for, and it's fair because no one really knows for sure whether he was brought in for depth or to compete. Well, what we saw last night, what they've honestly been seeing in training camp, I mean, it's not been too far off. both of these cornerbacks have been inconsistent, to say the least. I don't think Keeley has taken the step that people wanted him to. There was a lot of expectations. I think he's the same player that he was last year. The same problems that he had in college. Like, he's obviously physically gifted, but technique-wise, I still think he has problems. I mean, it wasn't specifically in the game, but like in practice, not turning his head, just little things like that where he's not locating the ball. And then, I get it's Jamar Chase, and of course, Jamar Chase is going to have his wins against Kelee Ringo. He's going to beat a lot of NFL cornerbacks, but on the one out route where he misses the tackle, I mean, that's a tackle that you have to make. It doesn't matter what NFL wide receiver you're going against. Right. It's not like Jamar Chase put this crazy move on him either. It's Kelee Ringo wasn't technically sound. He was a little too high, and it wasn't a good tackle. It was bad tackling technique. He got beat on the previous drive for a 23-yard catch. It was a rough night, and he wasn't just getting beat by Jamar Chase. And then, like you said, Adoree Jackson, it was less noticeable because there wasn't any touchdowns or deep balls. But I mean, everything he was giving up. He was getting beat by Charlie Jones in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Charlie Jones. That ain't Jamar Chase.
No, that's not Jamar Chase. And I think this cornerback room opposite, Quinn Mitchell for the CB2 spot is a mess unless Jacorian Bennett comes in and he's good. I mean, and it seems like, some people think he is, but he has 3 weeks to learn the defense. And if he can't play well, this truly might be a liability for this team this year. Because I don't think Kelee Ringo, based off what I've seen, can be a starter. I mean, he's
what
still
about
young.
Eli Ricks? You think Eli should be thrown in the mix a little bit more? I think if he gets that pick 6, the narrative starts to shift, but he dropped it.
I mean, I don't think he's any worse than Kelee Ringo. I mean, it might be better. I think I've seen more out of Eli Ricks in a small sample size than I have Kelee Ringo. Like 2023, he played really well at times. I mean, there's context to it, but I thought he played well. I haven't seen Kelee, play to that level. I mean, he flashed a little bit as a rookie as well, but Eli Ricks and Kelee Ringo, in terms of what they've done in the NFL, it's not that much different. I know the capital is higher in Kelee Ringo. They traded future third to go get him and stuff, but yeah, I'm not super high on Kelee. I haven't been impressed from the start of training camp. I thought with more reps and more time, eventually made the light would turn on. But last night was a rough showing. I'm not sure if they're ready to write him off, but it didn't look good.
Sounds like you're closer to writing him off than Johnny Mack is. I'm with you, Kaden. I'm not feeling.
Well, my part of mine is, I do. The athleticism has always impressed me, but part of it is you can't write him off. But he's got to be in the mix. You gotta. Because Caden's right. He's got trouble tracking the football. That's number one to me. And number two, as you pointed out, Nick Sirianni said it after the game. All right, you give it up to Jamar Chase, that's fine, but that's got to be a 16-yard gain, not a 36-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it's not a big deal in general sense because he was playing soft. I mean, he was going to give up that route underneath, but just the way he went about coming into that tackle, he didn't really break down. It was just odd. It didn't look good. He had a rough night just in general. If it was just one play, no, that's whatever. But
you pointed it out perfectly too. An out route should never go to the house. I mean, and it just did easily too. I was joking last night. It was like the Kentucky Derby. He was eating the dirt off Jamar Chase's shoes, chasing him down to the end zone. What'd you think of Adoree Jackson? Because I didn't think he was much better.
No,
I thought he was worse. Overall, I do. I thought he was worse.
Yeah.
Kelee gave up bigger plays.
Yeah, he gave up the big splash play.
Yeah.
But I think overall, from play to play, and I'm going to be interested to see the PFF grades when they come out. But by the way, why is NFL, Jesus, not putting out snap counts? I'm concerned about that. Caden, football wonk. Are they going to take that away from us? But anyway, I'm concerned. But that's inside baseball. But I thought play to play, I thought Adoree was a little bit worse. To your point with Charlie Jones, competition matters.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at Jamar Chase. That's the best receiver in football. Sometimes, depending on the day, I might wake up. I might say it's Jefferson. I might say it's AJ. It's probably Jamar Chase. Coming up last season, won the freaking Triple Crown. It's the best receiver in football. Charlie Jones, I liked him as a broadcaster. I don't know what I like him as a football player. Who's Charlie Jones?
Yeah,
that's my concern, the context of it.
Dory used to be a former track star, and I think that was like his calling card coming out. He was a special athlete at USC.
He was a great athlete.
He's been a solid NFL player at various points. I mean, I know Vic, doesn't love him, but he has been, a solid starter. And I think we've started to see it in practice, though, where he had some good practices, I think, maybe like one or two. And then he starts to get, you see a little more and more where he's getting beat by Jahan Dotson. He can't keep up with the speed of Jahan Dotson. I think Adoree Jackson's just lost a step, like to what he was a couple of years ago, which is not surprising. He's, I don't know. I forget his exact age, but he's almost 30, or if he's 29 or whatever. Like, he's getting up there, at least in corner age. And I just don't think he has it. Like, I did a 53-man roster projection the other day. I think with the cornerback situation now, if Bennett can come in and win the starting job, which is my educated guess now because the rest of the corners aren't playing well, I don't know if Adoree Jackson makes this roster. I mean, like, I like Eli Ricks more. They're not going to get rid of Mac McWilliams.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Adoree could be cornerback 2 or cornerback 7 off the roster because I think if he's not a starter, now that you have Bennett.
Yeah.
Because, Ringo's going to be here because he's a great special teams player at the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, if Adoree's not a starter, it might be difficult to keep him because you want to keep Mac McWilliams. You want to keep Ricks. And Cooper, obviously, is, you can keep 6 corners because of Cooper's versatility and he can play safety. But it's going to be a tough numbers game. And I'm not sure they have 6 corners worth keeping.
I think right now he's probably I think he'll be left off. Like, I don't see the role. He's not going to play special teams. Like, I don't think he's going to be your punt returner. I think that's going to be Anaya Smith. Like, I don't see the path for him making the roster if he doesn't win the starting job. Maybe it's a little bit like a Devin White situation where he makes it early and then he asks for a release, week 2 or whatever. I don't think Adoree Jackson finishes the season as an Eagle. I'll put it that way.
All right. Maybe bold prediction from Kaden Steel. I like it.
And he hasn't played well. I mean, it's frank. I think Eli Ricks has played better. I mean, I'm not saying Eli Ricks has been perfect, but I think I don't know. I don't see the point of rostering Adoree Jackson. But yeah, I'm just generally concerned about this corner room. I mean, they took a gamble getting rid of Slay.
That Campbell's not going to work, in my opinion. But
what about this comment here, guys? Is there do you think last night or the way it's developing could change the chance that DeJean moves to the outside to play corner?
See, no evidence. I think Bix likes him as a safety. I think that's more likely. But panic makes people do panicky things. But he has not taken 1 rep at outside corner in training camp through 10 practices. Bix seems to like him as a safety.
Kaden? Yeah, I agree. I think especially when Vic has an idea of what a player is, he's not going to move off of that. They'll find a way to piece this CB2 job together. But I agree with John. I think Vic sees him as a versatile nickel safety, and where he makes his biggest impact is, he's really good at covering, in the middle of the field as well. But I mean, he's also really good at run fits, and he comes downhill, and he's an important member of their run defense. He's probably, we were talking about performances last night. He's probably Makuba's got to get healthy, and we'll see what he is. I have high hopes for him, but he's probably their, best starting safety. Could be their best starting safety, even with Reed Blankenship.
I'd say that about Landon Dickerson is the Eagles' best center, and the Eagles have a Pro Bowl center.
Yeah,
that's sort of like Cooper, because Reed's a good player. But yeah, you're probably right. Cooper's probably their best safety and their best slot corner. And I'm not going to say best outside corner because Quinion, but he'd be in the conversation.
Yeah, and I can't move him. I wouldn't move him to corner because I don't feel good about free safety either. Like I said, I believe in Makuba. Like, I think he's going to be a good player, but he's missed time. I don't know how he's going to be as a rookie.
I believe in him in the long term, Kaden. I want to know 2025 though, when that Super Bowl window is wide open.
And I don't know, and I don't think Cindy Brown is going to be that player. I think he plays with a lot of passion, a lot of excitement, but I think he's still an inconsistent tackler. I think we saw that last night. I don't think he's going to be the guy. I think he's a fantastic, could be a fantastic special teams player and a nice role player in certain situations. I just don't know if he's going to be consistent enough to be a starting safety. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. He's definitely has the athleticism to potentially do it, but I just don't know. I think overall the secondary did not perform that well last night.
No, they
certainly not. Yeah. All right. On to the positive. We got the negative, and that's really the main negative was the secondary, I think. Well, the pass rush wasn't great either. We'll get to that later, though. The positive, Eagles have 2 top 10 quarterbacks. True or false? True or false? Fact or crap, Kaden Steel? No, I'm joking. But Tanner McKee, he did a really good job. And I think to me, the most impressive part was I felt that he elevated the people around him. I've never seen Johnny Wilson play better football. I've never seen Anias be more comfortable. Cooper, obviously, we've seen him in practice make plays. Nobody else has. He's elevating everybody around him. That's what great quarterbacks do. I don't want to overstate it, but
he looks good. I mean, like, I don't want to go overboard and say, he could be. I mean,
he can start in this league. It's not going to be in Philly, but he can start in this league. At least I think.
I'm starting to come around. I think it used to be like, all right, I don't want to say that because it's such a small piece of evidence. He hasn't played much, but it's obvious to the eye that he's super talented. He kind of gives me like a little bit of like a Nick Foles vibe. Like maybe
that works in Philadelphia.
It works. Even if he's not a star, I mean, the way he played last night, if you told me that he's the best backup quarterback in the NFL, I believe it. I mean, the arm talent's incredible. He throws a pretty ball.
He does, man. I love that throw to the right sideline where he moved outside Matt Pryor and kind of just almost sidearm. I mean, that ball was on a rope to the outside. I forget who caught the ball, but it was a great throw. He does have great arm talent.
He does. And I mean, I'm reading the Saints quarterback competition, reading some of the stuff on about Tyler Shuck struggling and Spencer Rattler being late.
Kellen
Moore, the Colts are going between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I hear that. I'm like, I think Tanner McKee probably start somewhere in this.
Daniel Jones is significantly better than Anthony Richardson. How bad is that situation for Shane Steichen? And you mentioned New Orleans with Kellen Moore, all our old friends. My God, Kellen Moore might talk Mickey Loomis because they're going to be terrible this year.
The grass isn't always greener, John.
To give up the number 1 overall pick for Tanner McKee. Who knows?
Hey, maybe, John. Maybe.
Yeah. But he played great. The one thing I want to see with Tanner McKee, and I've yet to see it, and maybe I'm missing, maybe you remember something. He's not, and it's again, we haven't seen him play that much. Week 18. Preseason a little bit. He's never really had to hold up against a strong pass rush. And, that was the knock on him coming out of Stanford, why it lasted as long as he did, his footwork, pressure. Can he move? He's never going to be Jalen Hurts, but can he show functional mobility to at least manipulate the pocket? I still want to see that. But when he's got time, he's good.
He's good. I agree. That's the thing that you have to question, though, because we haven't seen that. I mean, at least with the Eagles, I mean, he might not be in the situation where he has to, extend plays.
Yeah.
But that is the knock. How many quarterbacks in the NFL now? And I haven't seen it. Maybe he could do it. But how many quarterbacks in the NFL now are like pure, like just statues in the pocket and then don't move? Like maybe that's the concern that, I
don't know. I thought he had good pocket awareness last night. Again, you're not playing great edge rush. I get that. You're not playing a great NFL pass rush, but I thought he sensed the pressure well. I thought he rolled out when he needed to. I thought he threw from the run a couple plays that were nice. I mean, I got the feel that he was comfortable in the pocket. Some people have good pocket awareness. They're good pocket, good pocket presence. I felt like he had that.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, you don't have to, run for 100 yards. I mean, if you could just move just enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't.
Jalen Hurts. I mean,
I'm not talking about being a run. I'm talking about just doing that little extra, like Tom Brady. Manipulate the pocket, not like Tom Brady, but my point. Tom couldn't run, but functional. It's funny because I was looking up Darius Cooper, so I looked up Tanner McKee, his scouting report coming out. And that's exactly. However, the heavy feet and a lack of agility limit his effectiveness outside of the pocket and make him a magnet for pass rushers and when protection becomes spotty. His lack of functional mobility may have the lack of functional mobility to make it in today's NFL. So that was the knocks of him coming out of Stanford. I don't know if those have been answered, but I'll tell you, I like guys that can process. I like it, especially when you have a good offensive line, and the Eagles have a good offensive line. Yeah. So if he's forced to play, I like guys that can process, and he can process.
They gave up a third-round pick for no reason last year when they traded for Kenny Pickett because he was better than Kenny Pickett last summer. He's even better this summer. He just looks so composed. He makes everything look easy. And just,
he's smart. All those Stanford guys.
Yeah, Stanford. Smart. Yeah, 100%.
And his ball placement. I mean, you mentioned Johnny Wilson. His ball placement is incredible.
Oh yeah,
he gets it right where it needs to be, where a defender can't get it. Like his ball placement, his accuracy, his timing, like his feel for things. Like, yeah, I've come around that he's probably an NFL starter, which is a great, valuable trade piece to have, and it'll be a fun conversation to probably have next offseason, especially if he plays some games this year, if Jalen gets hurt or something.
Yes, next offseason, not now, because people are already trying to start that conversation. It's very clear, as well as Tanner McKee played, it's very clear Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord are not ready to play if they have to. And the history of Jalen Hurts, he's been a starter for 4 seasons. He's only played 17 games one of those seasons, so you're probably going to need him for 1 or 2 games, and those guys can't be the backup right now.
No, I mean, Kyle McCord hasn't impressed me yet. I've seen some decent throws in training camp, but like he does not look ready. I mean,
no, he doesn't.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson's been better, but he's thrown like 1 touchdown to 10 interceptions.
He's so inconsistent. He's so inconsistent. Yeah, he'll throw a good throw, and then the next throw is just, Charlie Sheen from, whatever prison he did Major League. The accuracy's just not there with Thompson-Robinson.
No, and they'll probably keep 3 quarterbacks, but I mean, I don't think either player's worthy of making the roster. Like, I don't think Kyle McCord's done enough to make the roster, or Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
I still think McCord's making it because Howie doesn't want to.
Yeah, draft pick, right?
Howie doesn't want to risk him.
Speaking of draft picks, Kaden, what'd you see last night from Jihad Campbell, who I thought not as great as, like, a couple things there, but one thing I did notice is he was around the ball a lot. He was always around the ball when he was on there. I think that's a good thing for a linebacker. What'd you see from Jihad Campbell in his first outing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the dropped interception probably overshadowed a lot of his performance. I mean, it was so close. I mean, it was right there. Obviously, when he rolled back over, he lost control of it. But
poor fundamentals, according to Nick. You can't. Yeah. So, but he was in a position. Yeah. Now, I put a lot into, because this has happened in practice as well. Like, Small Munden's ahead of him. Does that concern you? They started Small Munden, and they've been giving him more high leverage snaps in practice. Does that concern you at all?
I'll be curious to talk about it when we talk to Vic next time. Does he trust Smile Munden? And I mean, Smile Munden didn't play the best last night, some missed tackles as well. But does he trust Smile Munden in terms of processing more right now? His ability to see things?
Seems like it.
That at least is like the indication it gives off a little bit. And perhaps that's an area where Jihad needs to improve. I mean, that was kind of a little bit of the knock in some people's scouting report coming out, like, great athlete, can do a lot of different things. Like, it's got a credible ceiling, but, he needs to get a little more And he came into Alabama as an edge rusher. I mean, people forget that he's not an NFL edge rusher, but he's still a little new to linebacker. Like, is he ready in that area? I'm not sure. But in terms of just how he played last night, I mean, the stat sheet wasn't filled, and I still think he has improvement. But when you just look at him physically and the way he moves, he is so incredible the way he runs.
Yeah.
And that's the one part I get. And you mentioned being around the ball. I think I talked to Josh Uche after the game, and he said that, I mean, he dropped the interception, obviously, and things like that. But that's the most important thing, is that he just flies around like 100 miles an hour, and he's always near things. I think Jihad Campbell has an incredibly high ceiling. He was pretty impressive physically last night. But it is interesting, to John's point, that the Eagles have been not seeming to give him first-team reps, always over Smile, always over Trotter. And I figured that he would be the week 1 starter. I'm not sure yet. I think he might be more of a sub-package role until they feel more comfortable with him. Or maybe they use him as a Swiss Army knife. Like, I don't know. I mean, Vic has clearly stated he doesn't think he's ready to be an edge rusher. He's got 3 more weeks to maybe show something in that department to be used in that type of role. I'm fascinated with Jihad Campbell. I think the ceiling is through the roof, but maybe we need to temper expectations for what his rookie season might look like.
Certainly early.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Trotter being the starter week 1 next to Zach Vaughn, because he keeps doing a good job, solid job, and he did last night, I think, as well. One guy who impressed me, who hasn't impressed me that much in practice, but I think he turned it on, was Ty Robinson. He played a lot, showed up, because I think he struggled in camp pretty significantly at times. And all of a sudden they threw him into the deep end and said, hey, you go get a bunch of reps. And he's a physical guy, so I think he shows up a little bit better when the pads are on, when it's live. What'd you think of Ty Robinson?
Yeah, he heard your criticism, and the light turned on from him. You're the reason that he played well.
Yeah, probably. That's not the first time I heard that. Those guys give me the dirty stink eye in the locker room.
Oh, kidding aside, he played well. I mean, the 1 sack helped. It was a little bit of a free sack, but overall, I thought he played well. And maybe it's not a. And I saw some of what you were saying in practice, where like the get off wasn't necessarily there. It seemed a little, sluggish, and just in terms of.
Well, Kaden, he's got great, like, he tested like a great athlete.
He does.
Like but I didn't see it translating on the field. Did you see it translate? I was like, where's this explosion? Where is this athletic profile? I hadn't seen that.
Not at practice, but I saw it last night, and maybe it's what Vic said. I think someone asked him, Vic, about
that was me. That was me. Yeah.
He said something about reacting to things. So maybe it's not a lack of athleticism. Maybe it was a lack of confidence in his ability to react to the snap count.
Yeah, exactly.
Know what's going on.
Playing slow. Yeah, I think it was playing slow. He's not, and now he's getting more comfortable, and it'll start to show up.
He looks like a player too, at least from last night. He's obviously got to put it together consistently, but he tested extremely well. He's physical. I think he's versatile. I mean, he could do a lot of different things, and I thought he played well last night. He impressed me a lot, and I'm interested to see where he goes forward. I mean, he figures to probably be the 4th defensive tackle in the rotation.
I wouldn't close the door on Gabe Hall. He played a lot too, and he played pretty well.
He did, yeah.
He's got some versatility too, because Vic's been. Because of the edge rushing situation, we have to talk about that. You see some of these defensive tackles getting the occasional rep outside because they're better at defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I do not like this edge rushing room at all. Except Nolan. Nolan's a good player. I like the upside of Jalen Hunt. I have to throw that in. But why is he a difference player, Kaden? Why? Jalen Hunt is a difference player. That scares me, because the Eagles we can't lose Jalen Hunt because everybody behind him is. You said it, not me.
I mean, we've seen it in practice. Obviously, Vic knows. I mean, he does like versatility in his fronts, but I mean, he's been lining up more of Joe and Jalen Carter on the edge, which tells you a little bit that he doesn't think he's getting enough, or he won't get enough pass rush juice on the outside consistently.
That's frightening, by the way. That is frightening to be. That should be frightening to people.
Of all the backup rotational type edge rushers, I think Uche could play a little bit, but I feel more comfortable with him as your fourth or fifth guy in the rotation. I think he deserves a roster spot, but
who deserves a roster spot? Patrick Johnson.
Come on, get by. He's a great
sport. Was buying none of that.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Look, he doesn't have the upside. I get it, but at some point, if you're, and I said this earlier in the show, Kaden, at some point, if you're better in practice and you're better in the games, maybe you're better than Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. Because all right, Josh did what he did in 2022. I think it's 2025. That's, pretty much in the rearview mirror. Azeez was great at Georgia. All right. Patrick Johnson plays better in practice. He plays better in the game. Why is he not better? Tell me, Kaden.
Yeah, I think Uche's had some good practices. So I'm not as much on that train, but I will say about Azeez Ojulari, he's been invisible for the most part during practices, other than like 1 or 2 reps here and there. Like, I've been disappointed. I really did think that Azeez Ojulari would be a potential, gem. Like, the injury history, lengthy and concerning, but like, this is a guy that was on pace for double-digit sacks before he got hurt last season. He's been a pretty productive NFL player. He was a really good prospect coming out of college. But if you go back to his injury history, it dates all the way back to high school when he had torn ACL before he went to Georgia. Like, is this just a situation where just so many injuries over a period of time, the body's just breaking down and he's just not as explosive as he used to be? Because I haven't seen much from Azeez Ojulari yet, and he's a guy I had high hopes for. But through 1 week of preseason, I mean, talk about Adoree Jackson not making this roster. I don't know if Azeez Ojulari deserves to be on this roster, but they don't have many better options. Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking an edge rusher who's not on this. An edge rusher who's not on this team will be on this team by week 1, and maybe that's the guy who knocks off Azeez Ojulari off the roster, and maybe it's some combination of Uche, some guy not on the roster now, and Patrick Johnson.
What about Obo? It's not Ogbo. Evidently, it's OHBO. So what would you say, Obo? That's how I pronounce. But anyway, what do you think about him as under the radar? If they can't go outside the organization, you think he can push those guys off the roster?
I think he can push Azeez off the roster. I mean,
well, you're not liking Azeez, Kaden. You're looking for any way to get him off the roster.
I liked what he was with the Giants. I had high hopes. It's hard for me to say he's worthy of a roster spot when I haven't seen him make a lot of plays in training camp.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not criticizing you for it. I'm just trying. You know what I mean? I think it's fair.
And either has Ogbo to a certain extent. He hasn't made a lot of plays, but I will say the difference is he hasn't made a ton of plays. But at least when I see him get off the line of scrimmage, like, he's got an explosive first step. Like, you could tell there's like some athleticism there. I don't know, how the rest of his game is. I would have to look more into his film from the last couple of years, like how he is as a run defender and stuff. But like, there might be some juice there as a pass rusher. But I mean, if we're just taking the
I know.
Like, it doesn't make me feel good because I'm saying maybe there's a smidge there for him that he can be a decent. He plays 10 snaps or something. Like, I don't feel good about this group. I think they need to make a move here. And look, Vic had an incredible defense last year, but he also had a lot of really good pieces. I don't think this defense is going to be as good this year, especially with my concerns at corner and edge rush depth. They got to make
rank those concerns. I want you to rank those concerns: edge, corner, safety.
Probably. I mean, corner looks really bad right now, so I want to say corner 1, but I do think a really good edge rush can cover up some problems at corner.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my thing. It's a compounding problem because one is no good. It makes the other one worse.
Well, the other, you could help the pass rushing with good coverage, but that seems out the window. So you better find a edge rusher. I agree with you. To me, it's edge rusher 1, corner 2, safety 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
But a lot, I don't have. If somebody put corner, I couldn't blame them after last night. Number 1. There's a lot of concerns with this defense. Now, hopefully, when the real players are out there, the Jalen Carters, the Nolan Smiths, the Zach Bonds, the Reed Blanket, it's going to make everybody else look better. And maybe you can persevere through with the Sidney Browns and Ringos or Bennett's and Uche. They'll look better when those guys are out there. But look, every position, they're going to have trouble replacing Josh, Milton, Slay, Nakobe, CJ. Every single one of them. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it is. And there's definitely more liabilities this year that Vic's going to have to work around. And who knows? Maybe, like I said earlier, maybe it all works out. Ja'Cory Bennett comes in, he's really good, and Makuba takes the next step as a rookie, and he develops into like an outstanding player. And like
Jihad gets starts clicking. Yeah, there's some upside. I mean, Bennett, though, come on, we don't know anything about Bennett.
No.
Everybody's just assuming.
Other than that, he played okay in the time that he played last year, John.
Very limited snap count, but there's a little bit of Isaiah Rodgers in him because Isaiah did that in Indy. Limited snap count, played well, and turned out to be a pretty good player here with a limited snap count. But
maybe they should have just kept Isaiah Rodgers. He didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they look because of his size deficiencies. I don't think they look at him as a starter.
No.
And it's hard to pay $8 million to a third corner. So. But if you believe he could be a starter, and that's what he's going to be a starter in Minnesota, and he plays well, then it's going to look really bad. But I kind of agree with the Eagles. I don't think he's a full-time starter. Like, you need somebody who can play 1,000 snaps.
Yeah,
they don't have that player right now.
Going into the draft, I know they took McWilliams, and I've obviously been pretty impressed with him.
I like him a lot.
I do too.
I think he's going to be a slot guy.
Put him in the slot, kick Cooper to the outside.
I thought they might draft a corner. I thought that was like a wild card coming in because I
agree, Kaden.
I think Cooper's playing safety, man.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they've shown anything to say that. I'm just wondering what they can do. One guy who will make the team, though, Kaden, it's got to be Darius Cooper. Come on, I know you're looking like they're gonna have to keep this guy, Darius Cooper.
They might have to because the way he played last night, and obviously he's got to do it again and be consistent throughout these next 2 games. If he continues to play the way he did last night, he's not getting through waivers. That happens every year with players, I agree. But the difference to me is that
every year the Eagles are going to lose 15 players on waivers. It generally doesn't happen. But
no, it doesn't. But he's super explosive. I like him.
I was reading the scouting report from NFL media. I don't want to pick on NFL because Lance does a great job, but he lacks separation. All he's done is get separation
every day at practice. And then like his ability, there was one player practice a couple of weeks ago where he had a kickoff return, and I know it's thud and they're not, but 50 yards down the field, he's just explosive with the ball in his hands. He's good after the catch. And he separates it. He seems like a pretty good route runner. I think they found something there. You got to feel bad a little bit for Elijah Cooks. He was having a great camp, got banged up last night.
Yeah, he got carted off. Kenyon Green got carted off. Sidney got hurt. So we have to see how some of these injuries, how serious they are.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Eagles don't have to update injuries during games in the preseason, but we'll get that information as it comes in. But somebody like Elijah was playing good, but man,
that's probably the end of Elijah.
That could be another waived injured situation if he's going to miss practice because they, need bodies, especially with Cleveland coming in. And you got Johnny playing well, Nice playing well, now Darius Cooper. It's going to
It
be
was good
tough.
for Johnny Wilson last night. I mean, you haven't seen him make those types of plays in practice. I mean, he's
Best I've ever seen him play, Johnny Wilson, by far.
He looked like the player that you thought maybe that's where the upside was, like a contesting.
Right, exactly.
He hasn't done that in practice though.
And
So
use his body.
No,
I've always
he
said,
hasn't.
you're 6'6", dude. Use your big frame. Go and use it. So he did. Kaden, good stuff, man. We're at the end of the show. We appreciate you doing it today, as always. Great takeaways, my friend. Make sure you guys follow Kaden on X. Read all his work at NJ.com. Kaden, we appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, man.
All right. Glad you got out of jail last night, too. Glad.
All right, good stuff. There's Kaden Steel joining us right here on Birds 365. Great show today. Wrapping up the first game of the Eagles season. I know it's a preseason game, but John, last time we did one of those shows last night, they were Super Bowl champs. So it's always fun to get back into the new year.
They are still the reigning Super Bowl champs as well. Still the reigning Super Bowl champs. Not defending, reigning.
I like that. There you go. It's a good one. I'm good with that word. John, your final couple thoughts, man, on the game last night, on the shows that we had this week, and then kind of what's next for the Eagles. If you want to just give like a quick outlook of what's to come.
Oh boy, I haven't looked. They're back on the practice field tomorrow. The open practice is Sunday night at Lincoln Financial Field, which is sold out. I don't know what that means. I don't think they're opening the whole stadium, but evidently people are selling tickets on the secondary market. So a lot of hype about this team. Monday, I believe they have a day off. Then they're Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 consecutive practices. So we'll be back in the training camp grind. And the big news is Cleveland and Cleveland coming in Wednesday and Thursday for joint practices. So that'll be very important, especially for the key players, the starters, because they're going to get all their work in those joint practices. That's been the history of Nick Sirianni, and no work in the preseason game. So, it's going to be big for the key players.
Good stuff. Johnny Mac, great week of shows, brother. We will catch you probably with a little bit of a little conversation tomorrow for practice. Sunday, they got the open practice to everybody. So the workload is ramped up. The season is upon us. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. I'll catch you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Jim Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter. All right, give him a follow at JF McMullen. And a great show today, a great recap of this team and of the game last night. Eagles got the win. Winning is a habit, and the Eagles clearly have that habit down pat. A win last night, 34-27. Tanner McKee slicing and dicing. Darius Cooper running all over the field. Keely Ringo looking like a piece of chopped liver. Adoree Jackson looking like a ball of Charmin toilet paper out there. Soft and buttery, playing way off in coverage. Both of those dudes looked horrendous last night. Darius Cooper deserves to make the football team. I don't really care what anybody says. Darius Cooper should be on this football team. How about Johnny Wilson? How about Tanner McKee? A lot of good yesterday, man. A lot of good. That was like one of the most – I don't know if it was because I was on the air doing the play-by-play, but that was like literally one of the most funs I've had in a preseason game in a while. I was just enjoying that game, man. I was enjoying that game. I really was. Why are you guys picking on my boy Kaden? You're not picking on Kaden, are you, in the chat? What the heck's going on in the chat? Picking on my boy Kaden. All right? What's going on in the chat? Thanks, Primo. Appreciate it, my man. All right, everybody. Great show today. I'll take a couple comments. Oh, shit. Did I miss some super chats? If I did, I saw. Oh, no, I didn't. I got them all. Big thanks to everybody for checking in today. Big thanks to James Carver, man. How about that? How about that? Gifted 50 freaking memberships, dude. That's a lot. That's a lot of gifted. 10 would be a lot. 5x that. He gifted 50 memberships. So pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Hi, Dom says it's the hat. See, I don't know, man. I don't know. I know, Crowley. It's no joke, man. I get it, Eduardo. Eduardo, what did you say earlier that was hilarious that I agreed? Yeah, this SMD, he is, man. He's an awesome guy. He really is. He's a good dude, good soul. I talk to him all the time off the show on Twitter and stuff. Denise, good to see you in here, Denise. Zander, the Norwegians are not happy with Toast Ringo. I'm not. How about fuck the Norwegians? How about me? I'm not happy with Toast Ringo. All right. Oh, Eduardo, you're done. You're blocked if you ever say that shit again. Eduardo, don't think I won't do it. You've been a welcome supporter of the channel, but don't think I won't put the hammer down. Curtis says the positives were in place. That doesn't matter as much as the negatives. Classic Philly fan right there. Fuck the positives. It's only the negatives. Ryan says, good show, Zander. We'll see how it all shakes out tomorrow. I love that phrase, Ryan. I don't know if you're mocking me or what, but it's all right if you are. I don't really care. Everybody's got a way about doing things. That's a classic comment from Curtis. The positives were in place. They don't matter as much as the negative. You're right. I mean, you're right. I agree. In theory, I agree. All right. In theory, I agree. Let's see what Pumper says. You bums better stay on that side. Ringo's going to be a star. I don't look. I don't see that. Paul, how many years you want to wait? You want to give him a new contract and then let him earn it on that contract? I mean, he's in year 3, dude. If he can't play good this year, it's 2. Although, Pumper, you made one comment today on the show that I saw out of the corner of my eye, and it was a good comment. It was a good comment. It was about, I think you said being baptized by fire or something. I like that. I thought that was a good comment. Like, if he's gonna be in this position, you know, the best way to probably make drastic improvements is to get absolutely dusted by Jamar Chase in a preseason opener. Pumper just won. Yeah, just one, Pump. The rest of them were trash. All right. Here's Alfredo checking in. What's up, Alfredo? Zander, Bennett is the answer. You don't just make plays on good receivers like Chase and Pickens on accident. He did an interview a month ago and said he was playing injured. He's fully healthy now. Well, we'll see. All right. We'll see. We'll see. He got cooked by the Triple Crown winner. Let's see how he responds. I agree with that, Pump. Bird Gang Girl checks in. I've liked McKee since I first saw him play. Wilson was fucking amazing last night. He was great. How about the catches from Wilson? They were some big, good catches by him. I like Darius Cooper was my favorite player to watch last night. I felt like guy was everywhere. I felt like he was running all over the yard. Felt like he was making cornerbacks just look like fools. Felt like he created separation, used his hands, used his frame. Didn't look like he was a rookie, that's for sure. Didn't look like he was an undrafted player just 3 months ago. That's for damn sure. 4 months ago, whenever it was. Did not look like that to me. Guy looked like he belonged on the field. That's for sure. Cooked is downplaying it. Ringo got effing waxed. Leave it to Crawley. If something goes wrong, Crawley will be the first one to just annihilate. All right? Annihilate. This is with the Phillies, with the E. It doesn't matter. Crawley, that's what I love about you, brother. If something no good, you're not afraid to say it. Matthew says Cilio is going to spend 4 hours laughing. Yeah, I shot Cilio a text this morning. I said, there's not a chance in hell you don't put Keely Ringo in a blender today. He said, LOL, which means he's going to put him in a blender today. So Cilio will be absolutely torching Keely Bingo today, as Kyle Kokorski would call him. All right, as Kyle Kokorski would call him. So, all right, everybody, I got to get off the air. I lost my voice a little. I woke up and I had to take some throat coat, man. I had to take some throat coat. Anybody know what throat coat is? It says tea, and it's just like helps with your throat. I was talking. I talked for like, I don't know, 9 hours on the air yesterday. I was like, holy shit, voice needs a breather. So I love doing it, but it's a good preseason. It's a good preseason game to get acclimated, all right? Leave it to you guys. You got to say pause. Throat coat is a full-ass brand. Let me pull it up. Legitimately a full-ass brand, and these guys are like, oh my god, I'm so dittified, I can't think about anything that's not sexual. You guys have never seen throat coat? It's throat coat, man. It's good shit. Stuff is good, man. It works on the throat. See, I get it. It's fine. I talk for a living, so sometimes you need things like this. All right. It's chat, man. Sometimes I think you guys are like 5 years old. There's Jimbo with a pause. It's a well-known. CZ, you would think that, but yeah, I don't know, CZ. You say one thing and everybody has a fit. Good night. All right, I'm getting off the air. I got some work to do here this morning. All right, so got plenty of good things brewing right now. So a lot of exciting things to come. A lot of exciting times in Philly. And Darius Cooper should make the team. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit that it was one game. That dude should be on the football team. I don't care. I do not care. It's Darius Cooper season, baby. I'd like to see Jalen use the third receiver a little bit more this year. How about you? How about you? I love Jalen, but I want to see him kind of spread that ball around. I think it makes it really tough on a defense when you spread the ball around. So I want to see a little bit of that this year, and I think they got the guys they need. Jahan Dotson looked actually pretty good. Oh, Abe, I'll see it. I'll check it out, bro. My bad. I've been bogged down, Abe. Agreed, Z. Thanks, intern. Appreciate it. Didn't they cut somebody last year that should have stayed? It was actually Patrick Johnson, Philly, and then the Giants picked him up on waivers and kept him all year. Now he's back this year. So it was Patrick Johnson. So Shady, there's no doubt Tanner's got some quick decision making. I think the most notable thing I noticed from McKee, and John was kind of hard on him about this, but I think the pocket presence, the pocket awareness is key for him. I mean, he felt, it's one thing to be a 6'6" dude who can't run. It's a whole other thing to be able to sense when pressure is there. And again, it's not the greatest pressure. I understand that, but I don't know. I thought his pocket awareness is excellent. Who the F was that white wide receiver out there? I think it was probably Taylor Morin you're thinking of. Probably Taylor Morin. Tanner reads the field better than her. Well, I think they're different skill sets. I mean, completely different players. They're two different styles of quarterback. Jalen's also 6'1". Tanner's 6'6". So a little bit of a different perspective from that regard. But I appreciate everybody, man. Hit that like button. We had great viewership today and last night. So thanks for doing it. Thanks for being here. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. We'll have great Eagles content all year long. And if you're not, hit the like button. Subscribe. Drop your comments down below. They're obviously a big part of the shows, as always. And we appreciate you for being here. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.